Get ready for more valuable financial insights from Northern California's premier retirement income planners, Dan Ahmad and Jim Files, owners of Peak Financial Freedom Group. For more information, go to peakfin.com. And now, here's Dan and Jim.
Welcome to the Peak Financial Freedom Hour. You're here with Dan Ahmad and Jim Files, and we are here to help you understand your money a lot better than you ever have. And that's one of our goals. We find that the average consumer comes in, talks to us, and they feel so bad, Jim, because they don't understand much about their money and they think everybody else does. But in reality, very few people really understand what they need to do at retirement. They know how to save money and they sock it away in their 401ks, etc., but they don't know how to use it. You know, one lady last week asked me, how do I make it liquid? How do I make my money liquid? What she was asking is, how do I create income?
Right.
That's what her goal was. Our firm, Peak Financial Freedom Group, we only work with retirees and those people getting ready to retire. It's our specialty. So we only work with those people who now have those types of questions and problems saying, what do I do now? I've saved this money. I've been a really good saver. I've done what I'm supposed to do, but I don't know what in the heck to do to replace my paychecks once I retire. So thanks for everyone who is a loyal listener. We know people have listened to us for years and years. A lot of you have called in. We've met with you, but you can schedule your free consultation to come in and meet with us. And a lot of people say, I just want to come meet you guys. Just dial pound 250 on your cell phone and say the keyword money. That's pound 250 on your cell phone and say the keyword money. You can also listen to our podcast. We have all of our radio shows will be recorded in podcast form, as well as our YouTube channel, which will have our radio show, but we also film it because some people like to see us as well as hear us, and we all learn differently. It's just a great way to do that. And just don't hesitate to call us with your questions. You go on our website. There's a question line there. There's a live chat feature there. It's pretty cool. So we're trying to do everything we possibly can to help people understand their money. And we love to meet with all the people that need help, that have been really good savers, done what you should have done, saved your money. Now you're worried, what's the next step? We can discuss anything you want to about your retirement, your financial future. People ask us about their home loans, paying it off, Social Security, all these things. But we really love building those written plans for the listeners and then helping them to feel that retirement is not the end, but really the start of their next phase of life. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, you know, they're going to have retirement for 20, 30, 40 years. And it is the next phase. And you better be ready to launch into that. And the key ingredient to that is going to be, do you have enough cash coming in on a monthly basis to live that life that you want? So I'm going to give a quick overview of today's show. But if you do want to meet, just dial pound 250 on your cell phone and say the keyword money, pound 250 keyword money, and you'll get a hold of us. Or even simpler, go to our website, peakfin.com, and use the chat feature. It's awesome. We're going to do a quote of the week. We always like that just to kind of get people going with the show. We're going to talk about taxes and retirement, Social Security running dry, a problem solver. We're going to do a case study, really cool case study. And then we'll go into how we really help people like you do what they need to do to become financially successful. So how about, Jim, why don't you say hi to everyone and then cover the financial quote of the week?
Well, hi, everybody. As Dan just said, I'll go ahead and cover this quote. It's pretty cool. Milton Friedman, he's a renowned economist and Nobel laureate. And he stated in his quote here, inflation is one form of taxation that can be imposed without legislation. And if you look at inflation, if you read the numbers this morning, I was watching CNBC this morning at 6 o'clock, and the inflation numbers came in hotter than expected. The market dropped quite significantly, the largest drop we had in the market since March of the last year. So there is concern over inflation. And you as a consumer getting ready to retire, you should be looking at inflation very closely, because if you look at the numbers, let's just assume it's the feds think they can get inflation down to 2%, but we don't like the way they calculate the numbers. But let's just assume inflation's 3% and you live 20 years plus in retirement. That means 3 times 20, that's 60%, right? That means if your budget's $10,000 a month right now, in 20 years, it's going to be $16,000 or more for those same goods and services. So you have to make sure that you have enough income coming in retirement, not enough just to cover your budget today, but also more importantly, how do you cover your budget in the future? And what Dan and I talk about a lot with the consumers that we meet with that eventually become our clients is how do we generate excess cash flow above your budget number so that we are taking into consideration how inflation is going to impact your budget. Because without doing that, I promise you, you will have a very struggled time in retirement and you'll worry a lot, Dan.
Well, think about what you just said was perfect for people to really ruminate on, think about. And if you have been a great saver and they've been investing money and they've watched their assets grow and they go up and down, some volatility, but they want the growth. When you think about inflation, everyone has been told by all these big companies, their 401ks, their brokers, their bank, their brother, that the way you keep pace with inflation is to make sure you have growth on your assets that outpaces inflation, right? Well, the growth on the assets isn't the most important thing. It's the growth and the dependability of your income that's the most important thing to keep pace with inflation. Because what if you're in retirement now and you suffer a 20 or 30% loss and you're taking income out? How are you ever going to keep pace with inflation?
You're not going to.
It's a mathematical impossibility. You
No.
won't. So you have to look at that. When you look at inflation, it's the dependability of your income and it's the increased ability of that income to put you in a position that maybe we can then fight inflation.
The issue that people have, Dan, is they don't understand the difference between growth and income and the different stages of retirement planning. Because in stage one, if you're in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, or early 50s, I should say, you should be trying to accumulate your assets and you should be going for growth because you need to get enough assets so that you can use them for income in the future. And you're willing to take risk. But as you get close to retirement, or particularly within 4 to 5 years of retirement, and in retirement, you better change the game up. You better figure out how to preserve those assets that you've grown, and we call that asset preservation. And now all of a sudden is a different juncture in your life. You need to convert those assets into income. So you need income generation. So people have to understand in retirement, if you retire at 65, you live to life expectancy, let's just say that's 85. Hopefully you live to 100, but nevertheless, you have to make sure that are you focused on growth and taking significant risk in your portfolio and hoping it's going to work out? Or alternatively, should you be concerned about asset preservation and figuring out how to generate the most reliable income?
Well, with people's number one fear before they retire and right when they retire being, how in the heck am I going to replace my paychecks once I retire? I think the answer is simple. It's just they haven't said it out loud.
Yeah.
So everyone needs to say it out loud. The most important thing in retirement is to generate dependable income that won't run out. And if you do that, you'll worry less about your money. Now, let's get back to inflation with that same exact concept that you're talking about there. And you kind of hit on it there. What we will create in all of our plans as our number one goal is not just to meet your budget. And we're going to make you do a budget, which is good because that'll tell us how much money you need in retirement, not a tight budget, but a loose budget. But the key is, if your budget is $8,000, the key is not to just give you $8,000 a month of income, because some months you're going to need a lot more than that and you don't have any extra money to spend. So you want to make sure then you generate excess monthly cash flow. You talked about that earlier, Jim. That's how we keep pace with inflation. Because what if your budget's $8,000 now? But what if, like we do in a lot of plans, what if we create a plan that has $12,000 a month of net income after taxes? So their budget's $8,000, we create 12, they have $4,000 extra to spend. How does that now allow us to fight inflation?
Well, first of all, it changes someone's life. And second of all, it does fight inflation. And it not only fights inflation, but it gives you extra money above inflation to do the things that you dreamed about doing in retirement. And a lot of people, Dan, we talk about these numbers. Well, how do I get $8,000 a month? How do I get $10,000 a month? I have $1 million, $1.5 million in my portfolio, or 2 million, or whatever numbers. How do I generate that income? Those sound like unreasonable numbers, but they're really, really not. If you know how to do proper planning, if you're using the correct financial instruments, if you're using proper strategies to control risk, you indeed will be surprised at how much income you can actually generate off your assets. But again, if you try to do it conventionally, with just stocks and bonds, no, you can't get to that number realistically.
Well, and you can't do it the way you've done it to date.
No.
In accumulating assets. I think that's the biggest key, right?
Yeah.
You can't do the same thing and expect to get a different result that your volatile portfolio is going to provide you a steady stream of income. It won't work with how the money's for most people are invested right now.
That's right. So a key to all this, Dan, is making sure that people differentiate the difference between growth and income. And again, you have to decide if you're retired or soon to be retired, are you looking for growth? Or are you looking for income? Now, not that you can't get both.
Yeah,
you get both,
you
right?
You get both. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, let's go into our second section right when we get back. But ultimately, if you'd like to meet with us and talk about what Jim just said, growth and income, dial pound 250 on your cell phone and say the keyword money.
For more information about Peak Financial Freedom Group or to schedule a consultation, just go to our website, peakfin.com. That's peakfin.com. And thanks for watching.